Hi everyone, this is Coach Graber. I just want to take a few minutes to talk to you about self-esteem and your brain. Do you know that 85% of people have low self-esteem? Having low self-esteem affects us all at very deep levels because it shapes our perspective of who we are as people. It affects our confidence, our mental health, and shapes the decisions that we make. A healthy view of ourselves is fundamental to a happy and healthy life. The term self-acceptance could be another term to be used, the ability to accept yourself as you are without judgment. You have value. You, personally, just by the nature of being you. This is a part of just living in a democratic society. The very nature of a democratic society demands that we believe this to be true, that every voice deserves to be heard, and therefore that each person has value. But most of us don't really believe this. We believe messages in society that tell us you only have value if this or that, if you live up to these standards. And these surround us, they're all around us. But those who know you best, your friends and your family, all know that you have value. Believing this is essential to your self-esteem and self-acceptance. So think for a minute. What are some of the you only have value if messages that society tells us? So think about in media, like what are messages that media is telling us about how you have to look or act or behave or how talented you have to be in order to have value? How have these messages shaped your view of yourself, both now, today, and in the past? Be honest with yourself for a minute. Are you more accepting of yourself or less accepting of yourself because of those messages? Do you judge yourself by the messages portrayed in the media, by these images of how people should look, or by famous athletes or actors, how you should act? Here's the thing. These messages from society are based on unrealistic expectations of what a perfect man or a perfect woman looks like. These images are fantasy. Even the images themselves are changed. They're photoshopped to meet the ideal. They're not real. You're much better off finding your best self than trying to meet these impossible ideals. But remember, the image that's in your mind of who you're supposed to be, supposedly, is based off impossible images that are not even real. So looking at your brain, remember we talked about last time, your amygdala is wired to keep you alive. This is an important evolutionary function, but it can be tough on your self-esteem and self-acceptance. It's the job of your amygdala to send your brain into a fight, flight, or freeze state that's focused on keeping you alive whenever it senses a threat. When your brain enters this state, it is no longer capable of thinking logically. It's thinking about keeping you safe, keeping you alive. Now, when your brain goes into the fight, flight, or freeze mode, it is mentally reacting against the worst case scenario to keep you safe. So your amygdala, in its reaction against the situations in the process of keeping you safe, it can actually develop negative images of yourself. Your brain keeps track of these images for the sake of future encounters that are similar. So your brain actually develops negative patterns of thinking about yourself based off situations that are worst case scenarios developed by your amygdala to keep you safe. But these actually build a low self-esteem and self-acceptance. These actually will build on top of each other to build this negative image of yourself in your mind. So let's think about an example. Let's just suppose that you're out having lunch with the friends, you're hanging out, and you mispronounce a word. You know, everyone does it, but when everyone laughs at you because you make a silly mistake, your brain actually reacts to the laughter as a threat. Your brain sees this threat to your social standing, and your brain goes into a fight, flight, or freeze mode. So maybe it makes a silly comment to draw attention from yourself. But your brain has sent a negative message about yourself in this moment that is built inside your brain that says, okay, you made yourself look stupid, you're an idiot, or some other image of yourself. The next time something similar happens, the image is further cemented in your mind. And pretty soon you're building a mental image of yourself that's based off this idea that you say and do stupid things. So even a little thing like that can actually build this image in your mind of, oh, I'm stupid, or I'm an idiot, or whatever. What's important, though, is you have to understand these messages that you're telling yourself and that your brain is saying about you are really not true. When your brain is sending you messages that tear down your self-acceptance and self-esteem, you have to tell yourself that while your brain has good intentions, it is trying to keep you safe and alive, it's actually lying to you. You have to purposefully reject this image of yourself, which is based off that, again, that worst case scenario in your amygdala, rather than who you really are. And tell yourself, no, that's not who I am. I'm actually, this better version of myself, have a sense of self-acceptance of yourself rather than this worst case scenario image. So to create a different image of yourself, you have to find an alternate way to see yourself. So think of someone that you love, such as your best friend. They're human, they make mistakes, but those mistakes are not the defining feature. In fact, when someone loves you dearly, their mistakes become less significant. They're not really that important. Instead, what you see is the features that make them special to you. Work at seeing yourself in the same way. Imagine seeing yourself through the eyes of the people who love you the most. You have value. Choose to believe it and choose to see it. So I want you to think about this process then. I want you to take a moment and I want you to write down on a piece of paper some of the negative self-images that your brain has been telling yourself about over your lifetime. So what are some things about yourself that you don't like, that you view in a negative light? What are things you try and hide from other people? Don't show this paper to anyone else. Just write on the paper individually. After you write it out, I want you to focus on rejecting those images that are in your mind. Crumple up the page, or rip it up if you like. Tell yourself that these images are not true, that your brain was lying to you to keep you safe, but you don't need those images. They're not accurate representations of who you are. And I want you to throw the paper away. You can throw it physically like a basketball if you want. I want you to work at just rejecting, throwing out those messages in your mind. And instead, think about a more positive, self-accepting view of who you are. Yes, you make mistakes. We all make mistakes. They don't shape who you are. They don't define you. You have value regardless of those mistakes. That's all I have for today. Thanks and have a great day.